What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Twink Revolution. I'm Sam.
I'm Gian.
And today is the Wisconsin primary voting day.
Wow, it just feels so great to just be like celebrating democracy functioning as it's intended.
Yeah, I'm really proud of my home state.
Yeah, just in spite of, all the best medical and scientific evidence we have suggesting that this is a terrible idea. Joe Biden's ahead in the polls, so it's really important that we get this done now.
I'm surprised. I saw pictures of people lining up, and they're already in the hours long.
It looked horrible.
And it's mostly old people, and I'm just like, are you trying to all die?
Yeah, we're trying to kill them all.
Not pay Social Security by getting rid of them. That's actually Joe Biden's plan. Instead of cutting Social Security, he just wants them to all die.
Right. It is a way of cutting Social Security expenditure. Oh god, it's so depressing. Somebody actually did a good thing where I think they just like posted a tweet of it says like, wow, amazing footage of the Wisconsin primary lines, this is unacceptable or something, and it was just an overhead shot of I think the Chilean street protests or some maybe French but some giant protests. I thought that was pretty good. But the real pictures were not much better. They were just more spaced out.
Yeah, and I have a lot of friends who went. Luckily most people were wearing masks, but it was supposed to be pushed back by the governor to June, I believe. June.
He tried to issue an executive order.
And the courts ruled it not to be allowed. And then the Supreme Court also ruled that anyone who gets their mail ballot in late, because even if it shows up late to your house, is not admissible, which basically throws away possibly millions of votes.
So I did think that people were taking an odd position on the governor's executive order. There is something a little uncomfortable if you sort of believe in any of the lies of democracy, with the idea that the governor can essentially suspend elections.
Oh yeah.
So that's not the fact that people were excited about that. The people who could have done this the whole time were the DNC, both the sort of state level DNC and the national DNC could presumably intervene here, and they didn't want to because their preferred candidate benefits from it and was busy telling everyone that it's actually safe to vote.
Yeah, no, I agree actually, because all these people who were like, oh, Hungary's leader postponed all elections by executive decree, are now like, oh, well, when it's a Dems, and it's okay. Let's forget about
as long as it's an American doing it.
Yeah, as long as it's blue, no matter who. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Joe Biden's a piece of shit for him and his campaign insisting continually through his brain melt that actually like go stand in a line, be near other people, be with other people, and just feel that closeness as you participate in our beautiful democracy.
Yeah, I just actually saw he already started his podcast.
Yeah,
and one of the topics was like, what's the difference between like a wafer and
it's
like
fig Newton and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
That's what it was.
And there's a great moment where it's, I guess it's some call-in type segment or something, and somebody's like, well, I just remember you had the fig Newtons with, in Wilmington or whatever the fuck it was. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I had them with me the time. It's like, yeah, sure you did.
Is everyone senile on his show?
I don't know. It was a fairly cogent caller, but his response was not. There was another video of him in his home live stream studio, which was just brain melting.
Yeah.
Did you see this one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was he's like, we've always stood on the together with the, whether it was around the world wars or back in the pandemics of 16 or 17 or... It
was 17. I saw someone tweet about it.
Yeah, it was just insane. It's like, it's just it's not English, for one, and it's not the sign of a healthy mind.
Also, it's calling people to go out in a risky situation.
Who knows what he was trying to say?
What's what it made?
He could have been trying to say the opposite.
Maybe. Probably not. He's senile. He's just a puppet for a bunch of like masterminds. It's Epstein's actually behind him, and he's still alive. I'm an Epstein liver now. I'm like Tupac. Him and Tupac are together.
And Elvis.
Yeah.
So Joe Rogan, friend of the show, American podcaster Joe Rogan.
He's not a friend of the show. We don't know him at
all. He caused some controversy by saying he would rather vote for Trump than Biden, What do you think about that statement, Sam?
I think he's probably correct. His reasoning wasn't like policy. It was just like, this man is not mentally or physically capable to be a leader in any sense of the term.
We may have strongly implied a similar sentiment on someone else's podcast last week.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think Joe Biden has a very low fan base outside of the Democratic Party. And I think a lot of people probably more resonate with Joe Rogan. And they'd rather
Battle of
vote
the Joes.
someone who at least talks about America first and stuff, even if he doesn't actually do anything.
I'm not sure if he even. It's just somebody who like literally.
And then Trump.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like you'd rather vote for
Sorry,
Trump.
I think with Joe Rogan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find Joe Rogan such a benign figure compared to like I don't know the ghouls that you could be dealing with. He's really not the worst person to exist.
No.
Can't say I particularly enjoy his media output, except very occasionally. Sometimes if he has an interesting guest, it can be interesting, but
It's not for us though.
no, exactly, and that's fine. But I also like I don't find much disagreeable about him.
Yeah.
Like I think he's sort of perfectly fine. And so a statement like that of like I would rather vote for Trump than Joe Biden is not doesn't strike me as not well motivated or well reasoned. It's very understandable why somebody would say that.
That's quite reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's saying he's going to vote for Trump. It just says if he had to choose between the two, honestly, he'd probably just vote third party, I would assume. Or he's already voted. He lives in California.
Well, yeah, that's not for
Oh, yeah.
the general. Yeah.
The wine's already getting to me.
But it's okay because I think as the Democratic establishment has told us, credible rape allegations against Joe Biden, credible rape allegations against Donald Trump, you'd have to vote for the rapist with the better policies.
There was some podcaster who tweeted that, some blue check mark woman.
Was that one of the? I thought it was a man.
No, it was a girl. And she tweeted that like, oh, if I had to choose between the blue rapist and the red rapist, I'm gonna choose the blue one.
Hell yeah.
But it kind of touches on the topic of Alyssa Milano, whose like main project is like Me Too, #MeToo, is suddenly, oh, actually, now I don't want to just jump on alligating someone without a criminal like prosecution.
Yeah, no, it's
destroy their
when it comes
lives.
to accuse people, and there needs to be due process.
That's the whole point of Me Too. It's to just be like, oh, it's true no matter what, and
Believe women.
it's culture. It's vigilante prosecution.
Yeah, it was kind of cultural consequences for alleged wrongdoings, which like maybe was fine. But it is funny that like I don't know, owning the libs with hypocrisy doesn't really work because whatever, nobody's impressed by hypocrisy. But in this case, it is so flagrant that she was deleting tweets.
Oh yeah,
She's been deleting all her old tweets about like it's unacceptable to ever believe the accused of the accuser type shit. And now she's like,
she stopped supporting the Andrew Yang campaign because of a staffer having an allegation, and Joe Biden's had numerous allegations, and this is being the most recent. And she's like,
yeah, but he's winning.
He's her friend. He would never do that. It's like, of course he would.
Jeffrey Epstein did nothing wrong.
It's just ridiculous. This whole movement is a complete sham when it comes to like actually holding standard for everyone, including those who hold political beliefs that are similar to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of bourgeois window dressing. It is a project around the aesthetics of retribution, right? Where you can appear to have sort of corrected a wrong of the universe without actually having to do much.
Yeah.
And for the individual sort of women who have complained, or men in the case of Kevin Spacey, there probably is a personal cost to it. But for the people who are sort of have essentially made this their cause, it comes at zero personal cost to just be like, I believe women. It's like, well, yeah, because you have no personal stake in it. And the lie of it all is so quickly revealed as soon as they do have a personal stake in it, right? When Alyssa Milano's friend Joe Biden, whose political project of kind of neoliberal bullshit she's very invested in suddenly comes under question or into question, then suddenly believing women actually costs her something and she doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Like everyone's been tweeting about her, like the picture of the Kavanaugh thing where she's just like crying, like, and if she's literally holding a sign that says "Believe women," and everyone's like, she's an amazing actress, and all she's doing is like, oh, you can't tell the difference between Trumpers and Bernie bros. And it's like, yeah, maybe they just both are right that you're a complete sham.
Yeah, maybe you're a fraud.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw her former Charmed co-star Rose McGowan had a bizarre interview on ABC, which I don't know, like her affect during the whole thing was so strange.
Well, I think it's kind of like I know things that people don't know about all these groups, and it's a sham.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume that was it, but it's also just like the long pauses and the lingering stare, the sort of affectless stare at the interviewer. So I can't remember, the interviewer asks her like, your former co-star Alyssa Milano has been integral to the Me Too movement. Are you proud or something? She's like, I don't like her.
And then she ties to like what is it called, the
CAA.
CAA.
What is it, the agent, the giant, agency.
And it's like ties with Time's Up. And
so Alyssa Milano is married to one of the CAA executives. CAA was one of the biggest sort of boosters of the Time's Up thing. And then at least what Rose McGowan is sort of alleging is that CAA basically kind of made a lot out of this as a way of covering up their complicity with like Hollywood pimping, effectively.
That wouldn't surprise me, actually.
No, it checks out.
It's great. Like it's what a PR company or someone would do to be like, oh, let's prevent it from coming to us, and act like we're against it. I want to say pink washing, but that's not a proper term. That's for gays. But like, you know what I mean? It's like feminist
equivalent
washing
idea. Yeah. It certainly is sort of getting out ahead of the story.
Yeah, I don't trust her either. I think her co-star was correct.
Red Scare, that podcast, had a guest on.
Yeah, and people were very upset because they had Steve Bannon on.
Yes, former Trump strategist.
And right-wing populist.
And Breitbart editor now, right? Is he owner-operator of Breitbart or something like that?
I'm not sure.
He's I think he took over from Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart himself.
Oh, he might have.
Yeah, after Breitbart, died in a toilet or whatever.
Like Elvis.
Yeah. Yeah, much even less glamorous than that somehow.
Yeah. But the so-called left have been losing their fucking shit, including Current Affairs, who tweeted one of Anna's tweets about it saying, next week, Milo Yiannopoulos. Week after that, Tucker Carlson. Then Richard Spencer, ? Trump himself, ? Ghost of Gregor Strasser. Basically just doing like a Strasserism like allegation.
Which I mean is a hilarious and lazy slur to basically mean, I don't know, you're not conforming to a particular liberal agenda. But the interview itself was interesting, I thought.
Yeah, they're not the best interviewers, but they asked a lot of questions I haven't heard before, and I think they kind of stumped him in a way that kind of revealed him as like having some different issues.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think the lesson about like learning to have a fucking argument with people is they were not arguing with him.
Yeah,
they were being perfectly pleasant and cordial. They weren't letting him kind of get away with anything.
Yeah.
And they were asking him, intelligent follow-up questions. But it was not hard-hitting journalism. They're not those people, right? And so, and yet, even with just that amount of interrogation, which he's never had on MSNBC or on CNN, all these, news stations, which he spends a lot of time as a talking head on.
Yeah.
He's never once been asked some of these questions about like, wait, how can you be
a populist,
a populist without supporting Medicare for all?
Yeah.
And his answer to that was sort of pretty garbled.
It was bad, and they kept trying to like question him on it, and he just never really gave a good answer besides, oh, I just think the market actually is the best option.
Yeah.
And
then he started rambling about his sort of unequivocal support for Israel in a way that was weird. and when they were like, wait, why?
Yeah, Anna was
He's
like,
like,
why do you support Israel?
Yeah, he's like, well, because of our shared Judeo-Christian values. So like, that's the thing is like, this person who's been held up as the scariest man in the world, right? Sort of Hitler Karl Rove embodied.
Yeah.
Honestly, with like two
like Manhattanites.
two Manhattan sort of like e-girls, literally made him look foolish.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe, like, to anybody, to any sort of, impartial observer who's like, gee, I wonder if this Steve Bannon guy has some good ideas that I should pick up on. I feel persuadable to any racial ideology. I should listen to Steve Bannon. They would come away going, gee, this man is quite foolish and his ideas are a little feeble.
Yeah.
I think his where he actually came off strong was in his sort of populist stuff, where he's talking about like bringing back factories and doing a little bit of sort of light concern trolling around Chinese workers and their plight. But mostly he was obsessed about Chinese Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah.
And about how they're like the most evil totalitarian. That's the thing. He sounds the same as fucking Rachel Maddow. Like,
yeah.
there's like the idea that he's sort of uniquely scary or threatening is just really hard to sell. And everyone makes this sort of thing about like, well, he's actually like a white ethno-nationalist or whatever. I'm like, he might be. It kind of didn't come up, and it wouldn't. If that's true in that in that respect, he denied it for the record out and out. They did ask him about some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But like, let's say, okay, he's lying. His specific political ideology he's attempted to enact is really like would fit in well with the corporate end of the Democratic Party as well. There's not a lot of disagreement there, except he's less fond of markets.
Yeah, I think actually one of the upsides is I assume a lot of his following probably listened to the episode and maybe it showed them, oh, you can be a leftist and care about like manufacturing jobs, kind of like the things that people don't associate with the left because they think it's like very like elite and city focused versus like the girls and Red Scare where it's like, oh, we want factory jobs and like they're not open border advocates or anything like that, or
right. And that's sort of seen as a
they're not woke in the sense that.
But that sort of the fact that they can find some common ground or agreement there is seen as evidence of the sort of the horseshoe theory, red-brown alliance, Strasserism, that this is just a secret strand of Nazism where it's like, well, I want to murder all non-white people, but I want the white people to have health care or something. It's which is just, I mean, absurd.
Yeah.
However, the fascinating thing about like somebody like Steve Bannon's ideology, right, is his sort of America First protectionism, a kind of a nationalism, and I mean that without sort of any loaded connotation of what it could mean. If you succeed in rebuilding the industrial base of America, you would surely be setting the conditions for essentially a second confrontation between labor and capital.
Yeah.
Like if he is, put it this way, if he is successful in everything he wants to do, it would be, I think, doing more to advance the cause of perhaps setting the conditions for, like an actual labor movement to emerge in the U.S.
We also said quite fond things of like AOC and even Bernie Sanders compared to the other Democrats.
Well, yeah, and that, but I think that's mostly playing around the
populism, though.
It's the populism, but I don't think it's even that. It's that he's a political strategist. So I think some of that was an aesthetic appreciation for the sort of the tactics or the imagery of somebody like AOC. He said, I don't really agree with her policies, but he likes her sort of firebrand independence.
Yeah.
Which I think we can. She's been walking all that back really quickly, so maybe he won't like her anymore. But
yeah, we don't like her. Well, I don't like her.
I don't have a lot of time for her personally. She can do what she's going to do, but she's now just a part of the political spectrum. And she's ceased to be an insurgent force that everyone had sort of hoped she was going to be.
But also think of how crazy it is that having a conversation with someone with a different political ideology, even if it's somewhat controversial, is viewed as like Nazi-strasserism. Like, how are you not
giving him a platform?
Is there no debate anymore? Like,
no,
they challenged him more than anyone else has.
Right. No, that's the problem. Is he can essentially give a monologue on any national television network in America. Right. He can come on, be asked sort of these questions that are framed in a very sort of substance-free way. Right. There'll be a substance-free question about like this thing Donald Trump has done, and he's quite articulate, and he's a very sort of savvy media figure, so he knows how to evade a question well. And then he is allowed to expound upon any point he wants and never be challenged.
Yeah.
The fact that it was simply some people who were like not working for like a major media organization doing punditry. That literally was more elucidating of or more illuminating, I guess, than any other appearance of his I've seen.
I think another part of it is just so much of the libs, they probably took their demeanor as being like friendly to his ideas because they weren't rude to him during the discussion, because libs can't have an actual conversation that's not polite and stuff. It's why I think like hate like Angela Nagel, who can talk to like libertarians or right
talk to Richard Spencer
or Tucker Carlson, like polite and like have disagreement, but they don't see the disagreement. It's like, oh, they're being nice to them. Why aren't they punching that Nazi in the face? Like,
which is so weird, because in the same breath, right, they're sort of fetishizing the Republican who's like the Republican with a conscience, the ones like Mitt Romney or Susan Collins or whatever, voting against their party, putting party over country, and this idea of like no, it's civility.
Yeah,
it's like fucking Mitt Romney has done more harm to the country than fucking Richard Spencer has.
Well, like it's like Bush as well. Like everyone's like, oh, Bush is such a sweet president. He's friends with Michelle Obama.
Yeah, and Ellen
killed like 1 million Iraq.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the actual sort of body count on these people, and the actual power they've wielded and the damage they've done is just disproportionate. And I don't know. I don't need to be anybody's Steve Bannon defender. He's a piece of shit, but like, it's way more just purely tactically, ignoring just the wider sort of principled idea of like, do we have arguments and do we attempt to win arguments?
Yeah.
Which we absolutely should be, but just tactically, it turns out you can make them show their ass. Like, it's really not very hard. Because the ideas are dumb.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, when you start babbling on about the shared Judeo-Christian heritage with Israel, you just look like a fucking moron to most people.
Yeah.
If that works, it's only working on people who already believed it. Yeah.
Also, like, what does it say that media that have just shifted so lib, like they're part of the so-called American left, are just buying into all this crap as well? I mean, there's almost like no actual left media in any sense in the U.S. They've all kind of bought into imperialist dog whistles or like liberal talking points at some point in their career now. And most of their good writers have left and went on to other careers or just been completely blacklisted. There is one that I just wanted to do a shout out. There is this new media.
Breach.
What is Breach?
The Breach, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to create a good working class online website, news site. So I think they're fundraising still. So
they are. They probably have about 2 more days of their Kickstarter. Just search for The Breach Kickstarter, or if you follow us on Twitter, we tweeted it recently, so you can go look at TwinkRev on Twitter and find it there.
Yeah.
It seems like a really worthy project. It's I don't think you even need to fundamentally believe that they are going to not repeat the mistakes that maybe other, now well-established left-wing publications have made.
Mm-hmm.
It's merely like actually, I think, a diversity of perspectives on is going to be useful here.
Yeah.
Let 1,000 socialist publications bloom.
True.
But yeah, I know Current Affairs magazine. Just
horrible.
That tweet was horrible. Wait, did they delete it?
No, I just talked about it.
Oh, I thought you'd screenshotted it because I just tried to find it and it wasn't there.
It's in our sheet.
Oh, maybe I'm screwing up.
Okay.
Yeah, let me find it because it was the ultimate tweet. No, that page does not exist. Oh, weird. I'm not able. Okay, I think it's gone.
Well, save it.
Or maybe I'm blocked by Current Affairs. It's possible that too.
Possible.
Well, anyway, good. What else has been going on?
Latin America's been, or at least the U.S. is working with right-wingers in Latin America to try to clean house and get rid of all the leftists, or even like progressive government leaders. Most recently today, one of the courts, which has been kind of exposed to possibly planning the removal of ex-president Rafael Correa, and he's given 8 years. Luckily, he's in Belgium right now with his family, so I think he's safe, but who knows? He was the one that basically ended all IMF debt, removed military bases, started nationalizing. He's like the Evo Morales of Ecuador. And then his VP, Lenin, took power. Not the good Lenin, the bad Lenin.
Yeah,
and
imagine being named Lenin and having those politics.
Basically gave up, what's his name? Assange. He took on IMF debt. Basically was a complete traitor to his working class base that voted for him.
Seems good.
And that's just the most recent. Last week, the U.S. placed a $15 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela.
Yeah, that's Alive or Dead, I believe, as well, right?
What was that?
Was it Alive or Dead? I think they don't care.
They just want evidence.
They basically put out a hit on him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is it? Yeah. Do you get the money if you just kill him?
I think they're trying to get him alive.
Oh,
but I don't think they really care.
I don't believe in their commitment to the cause. Sometimes I doubt their commitment to sparkle motion and the complete political transformation of the global south.
I think they'd be fine if it was a Gaddafi situation too. I just think they want him and his government removed because tons of government leaders there of the Bolivarian revolution are also on the list getting like $10 million bounties. You know, when this money could go towards American people who are suffering.
Nothing else to spend money on right now.
And it's also like, what are we going to do to like fight it? Because you're not going to protest when there's a pandemic.
Yeah, well, how are they going to arrest him without going within 6 feet of him? I don't get it.
I don't think
doesn't sound appropriately socially distant.
And then I think it was yesterday for a Portuguese cruise liner breached Venezuela's waters without permission, and then rammed one of their military ships and sunk it.
Well, was it ramming? Well, yeah, does it? I guess the news articles do say rammed.
Yeah.
Portuguese flagged ship did not attempt to rescue the Venezuelan crew and thus failed to comply with international regulations that regulate the rescue of life at sea. Well, that's a dick move.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy. It's like, for one, why wouldn't you not reply back? And also, your ship's far bigger than a military ship, and you just ram it. Was the driver drunk?
Oh, okay. So, so the Venezuelan Coast Guard ship had told the Portuguese flagged passenger ship that it needed to make port because they had basically encroached in territorial waters, and they instead of complying, they decided to collide.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's pretty fucked. Yeah.
And basically, as a result, Maduro, a couple days ago, issued a mobilization of the artillery because it seems like Colombian troops are lining up on the border with Venezuela, and U.S. is clearly backing this. It's also really funny because the accusation against Maduro and his government is narco trafficking, and Colombia, who's a puppet state of the U.S., is the largest cocaine narco trafficker in the world.
Yeah, I was seeing there was the last report on sort of international narco trafficking does not mention the word Venezuela even once. I
No,
think.
it's been debunked multiple times.
Yeah, it's 90. I think it's 94% of the cocaine in America comes from Colombia, and then the other 6% comes from Peru.
Yeah.
That's it. Venezuela is not a significant contributor to the trafficking, transportation, or manufacture of any of the drugs that make it into the U.S.
Also, America's the number one consumer of cocaine. Like, if they were
Narco state.
if Venezuela was sending cocaine, which they're not, you would think all these PMC shitheads would be like, "Oh, I'm pro Venezuela now because they're sending me some good ass blow." Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you cut off your own supply?
It's true.
Also, it just shows the sham of the drug war when all the countries we have military presence or funding in tend to be the biggest drug producers. Like Afghanistan skyrocketed in opium. Colombia produces most of the world's cocaine.
Yeah.
And they get Colombia is the third most funded state behind Saudi Arabia and Israel from the U.S.
Yeah, we give them untold amounts of money. I mean, our strategy through the drug war, right, was basically to go and buy that country.
Yeah.
And we've had, I think it'd be fair to say, very limited success from our investment at stemming the flow of cocaine.
No, instead, it's one of the most dangerous countries in the world for union leaders and like environmental activists, and even just like coca farmers, because there is coca farmers who are doing it for cultural reasons as well, and are just being like massacred, especially after they broke the FARC agreement. So most of the FARC gave up their weapons who were fighting against the state, and then just killed a bunch of them, and then murder just like shot up again.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's one of these moments where if you were to read about American sort of foreign policy in history, going back to say, I don't know, 1900 or something, you would go, gee, wow, what a blunder. We just did it again. Like, oh, it did fucking Philippines. Oh, whoops. Oh, Grenada. Whoops. Oh,
Panama.
Fucking Panama. Chile. Oh, whoops-a-daisy. We just keep fucking up. Good thing we've changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Colombia's just that. We just have done that, and we're doing it to Venezuela now again. It's just an endless cycle, and it's just the exact same cast of shitheads and the same dumb ideology that motivates all of it. It's part of a long arc of history, and we have not changed our tune on this. We just keep doing it.
I think though Venezuela is probably going to be okay, just because like in the past the tactic has been more like try to maintain peace, while Venezuela's like bring it on, motherfuckers. Like we will, and a lot of countries now with more global capital and stuff have been interfering in countries under risk, like China and Russia, and even Cuba have been giving support. Not militarily right now, but like financial and stuff.
Yeah, it just China and Venezuela friendly.
Yes, very friendly.
Oh, that's good.
When
that's fine.
Had their like crisis when we were trying to flood in so-called humanitarian aid, China actually gave legitimate aid.
A giant carton with like bombs and guns poking out the corner with like a hastily drawn on red cross saying medical supplies sprayed on the front. Yeah. Weird that they didn't want that coming across the border.
Some M16s with the word written on it. Inhalers.
Yeah.
It was the worst year for asthmatics ever in the country. They kept dying randomly.
Rounds and rounds of bullets for internal use only.
Yeah.
Oh God. But it's okay because the eyes of the world are upon Nicolas Maduro now because he has TikTok.
Yeah, he just got TikTok to do political messaging, and I think the reason he did it is because TikTok's not owned by a multinational company based in the U.S. like Twitter,
right?
Facebook. It's owned by China,
yeah,
and China's friendly with Venezuela, so I don't think he's going to be removed because
China, the bastion of free speech. It's great,
but
they actually are in this case.
Twitter consistently removes governments the U.S. doesn't like from Twitter. They all shut down their accounts or like block them or like
my pro-ISIS accounts keep getting banned. It really sucks.
They've done it for Iran. They've done it for China, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia.
I do feel like in this instance, Maduro being on TikTok doesn't quite violate my my no politician should ever use TikTok rule.
Yeah, because it's not the same as the U.S. politicians where it's cringy videos. He's actually just doing like informative videos of like what Venezuela's doing to deal with coronavirus right now. So
Yeah,
they're like,
it's not clear he's using it as a campaign platform as much as he's perhaps using it to
yeah, no.
well, he doesn't have to campaign because he's a dictator. Yeah,
Totally.
he just keeps winning elections, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I go follow Nicholas Maduro M
Yeah.
on TikTok. It's
I
great.
followed him.
Yeah, I've actually stopped using TikTok though. I just find it
Probably for the best.
yeah, it's just sort of too easy to like infinitely scroll.
Yeah.
I've been reading books instead, rather enjoying that.
I started reading too.
I know you did.
Yeah.
You took the book after I finished it.
Yeah. It's our friend Wendy's book who we had on the podcast a while back.
Yeah, I was back on episode 18. The book's called just Abolish Silicon Valley, and it's really damned good.
I'm halfway through. It's super good.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have her back on and we can delve into that world and current events more.
Yeah. We'll see if we can book her. Her book tour got canned by COVID-19.
Yeah.
Sadly. So anyway, we'll see if she'll stop by the Twink Revolution studio for a virtual book tour or something. I know she's doing some events and stuff over the next few weeks, so check out those. But yeah, the book is really good. I really do recommend it.
Well, while we're focusing on the rest of the world's affairs and spending millions of, if not billions of dollars to interfere with them, Silicon Valley and San Francisco have been seeing a surge in OnlyFans accounts because people can't pay their rent because they're not working anymore.
So OnlyFans is this website where you can essentially be a sort of independent porn producer for your subscribers. So you can extract you post sexual and videos and photos, and then you drum up interest and get people to subscribe for some amount of money every month, right?
Yeah, basically like survives off of a strong parasocial relation with a lot of random people.
Yeah, it's sort of Patreon, but for like showing whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, good on people who are finding a way to make it work. I guess it's a little bit of an indictment of I know the economic response to a crisis.
Well, I'm just waiting for everyone to be like, "Oh yes, freedom." For this totally voluntary act. That's just what they would do if they had the financial means.
Totally. Yeah. What else?
Just
what
the
else
free
do you have
market.
better to do?
It's the free market, and they're just doing what they would want to do. They're doing the careers they've always wanted.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you've run out of other things to sell.
Yeah.
Your labor is no longer valuable at this current moment, so might as well just sort of perfectly commodify your body.
It's a lot of an article. It's an SF Chronicle piece. It's a lot of. We only talk about women, surprisingly, which I was surprised.
I think that's a majority.
You think so? There's a lot of men on.
We just follow a lot of gays, and they're all thirsty and subscribing to gay OnlyFans accounts.
I guess. But it's a lot of like bartenders, former strippers, musicians, like people in the arts.
Sure, yeah, and I feel like I've had quite a few friends who have sort of mentioned they're like, well, I can pay rent for this month, and then I guess I'm starting OnlyFans. And I think it's only half joking.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, like it's kind of the only option available in many instances.
I mean, at least it's probably far better than a lot of other forms of sex work because you run the thing like it's private management. You're probably getting paid a lot more. Like it's around like $10 per person.
I
per
think
month.
OnlyFans takes a big cut of it.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, no, I believe the economics of it are probably like a 50-50 split.
You've looked into it?
Yeah, I tried to start mine.
Oh, okay. For Twink Rev.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're doing instead of Patreon, just an OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like nothing about this is surprising, just given how we've ended up sort of structuring our lives, right? There's not really sources of income available that aren't maximally degrading. So this is like, is it worse than like delivering Postmates during a pandemic? I don't know. Probably not.
I'm just waiting for the salon pieces or like Jezebel to write articles about pretty privilege and how other people can't have OnlyFans during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do if you're not like attractive enough to have an OnlyFans and you've got unemployed?
you have to die. That's the market has demanded, or the market has not valued you
Yeah.
appropriately, and therefore, fuck off and die.
It's the great ugly purge.
Yeah, it's a sort of Darwinian fitness thing.
Or they just have to lower the rates. I mean, everyone's someone's type, I guess.
Well, totally. Yeah, I mean, it is. There's something kind of dystopian about it. It is a sort of virtual prostitution in some ways.
It's also rapidly expanding in its usage. Like, where I used to say, like, oh, like, what is OnlyFans? Like, one person I followed on Instagram, and now it's like every hot person has like an OnlyFans. Now you see like TikTok people who are like 18, 19 posting about their OnlyFans. I'm like, for one, like, you live in a nice household. Like, what happened?
Well, but that's the thing. I guess that the stigmatization of it has dropped, and that's fine. But you have to sort of wonder why. Like, what were the conditions that produced that effect? Well, it's that there's no other hope, right? If you're sort of Gen Z, and like what possible path do you have to riches and fame?
Yeah.
Like, fuck all. It's not like millennials fared any better in that regard. But I just mean, like, if you are sort of young and beautiful and can attract an audience of people who are interested in paying you, like, where else in your life do you experience that? You have to go beg for a part-time precarity job or something.
Yeah.
Or you can, like, I don't know, get naked on camera and sell your bathwater or whatever, and like
sell your
it's
underwear.
money. Yeah, it's money.
Also, I assume that a lot of this will just be another avenue for porn recruiters to find people. I was watching the Netflix show
Hot Girls Wanted
2, the series, and one of them is based on a girl who does camming, and she's now a recruiter, and they just use like the camming websites to recruit people to get into porn. So it's kind of like a pipeline, and I assume this is going to be the exact same way. Because like most people want to be famous. These people who have like very attractive looks, they're probably in some cases quite vain. No slight at all. If you're hot, you're hot. But they're gonna run out steam, and be like, oh well, I need to pay my bills, and LA is not doing it for me, so they're gonna end up in. Actually, LA doesn't do porn, but like they kind of do.
I don't know. I think a lot of it moved to Vegas, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of that, and the sense in which you can produce an income sort of based on, as you said, right, that parasocial relation, because that's sort of what distinguishes it from classical like porn produced by porn studios. Is
it's about the person, not the one video that you're going to scroll through for.
Right. Everyone's it's like these are people who have sort of got a constellation of social media presences. Like, they'll have Instagram where they post a lot of like sort of thirsty but PG rated shots, and then they'll do their Instagram lives where it's like, oh, I'm just at home unboxing my purchases from today or whatever, and then they might have like Twitter where they're posting sort of risque
and their OnlyFans
videos as a leader into their OnlyFans, like come subscribe to OnlyFans, and it's all about like, no, this person, and they will sort of engage back with you as long as you subscribe. It's the same as like a Twitch model or anything like that.
Yeah. How fun. I mean,
what a world.
I mean, I don't really care if anyone does this. Like, I think
it's I mean, good on them.
All
it's
the
fine.
sex industry, I think it's one of the least problematic, because it is you doing it yourself versus things like street prostitution under like pimping and like.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly comes with a less personal risk. It's I don't have any moral judgment around the fact that people are choosing to do it. It's more like there's something utterly horrifying about the conditions that make this like the best possible way people could be spending their time in order to minimally survive.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Also, it just shows the acceleration of commodification, where like social media initially, like there's some ads and stuff, but it was still like you see what first comes up, and it was to like stay connected and build community. Now it's like all to make money.
Well, yeah, monetize parasocial relationships.
And now it's expanded to monetizing everyone's personal identity as a brand, and you're monetizing and commodifying your sexuality and stuff, which like having sexuality is fine, but like when we start commodifying all the basic parts that make you like human, it's just kind of extremely dystopian.
Well, I mean, isn't that the dream of neoliberalism, right? I mean, it's that there's no part of life that should not be subject to markets, and if the value of your labor is not as high as essentially the value of your body,
yeah,
then you will be valued as a piece of meat.
Also, it just shows like for the other side of people who are buying all of this, how dystopian
quarantine horny.
Well, it has been shooting up, but during the coronavirus, but also it's a lot of money to spend on like porn, I think, when it's free.
But it's not porn. I think that's the distinction, right? It's because it's more like
there's a lot of porn on there.
Well, no, of course it's porn.
Yeah.
It is definitionally porn, but I mean, it's not the same as going to, bustyschoolgirls.com or whatever and handing them your credit card. It's no, this is this person who I see their daily life and they interact back sometimes, and it's it is truly parasocial.
It's kind of sad.
Of course it is, but I mean, people, I think there's a much higher willingness to do that in the same way that something like Patreon is around like, creators and you're like, well, I watch their YouTube videos, but then I also get their Patreon updates where I see the making of, and I listen to them talking about how their mom was a total bitch because she wouldn't let them film in the garage or whatever. Like, and people are like, well, I feel like I know this person, and therefore I'm really supporting my friend, sort of thing. And most people wouldn't say that part out loud, but that's surely the psychology of it.
Yeah, I mean, all media is parasocial. Like all celebrities, which is what OnlyFans was supposedly meant for, was to let celebrities have greater connection. People that want to pay.
Sure it is.
I don't believe that, but like all of our relations to that is that. So maybe I'm just having a double standard. But like I think that's weird too. I think it's kind of sad that you get so invested into like the Kardashians as like your friends when you're wasting your whole life away. And we're all guilty of it. We all get caught up in those stupid shows.
I've never once liked anybody in my life. I think like you might go buy the Kim K makeup set or whatever, right?
Yeah, the Kylie Jenner lip kit or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, and like, why wouldn't you?
Is that what girls buy? I don't know. Or boys. I don't wear makeup.
Yeah. Well, but it's more like you put that into a different category of expense than just going out and buying a cosmetic, right? From name brand cosmetic.
Yeah.
Versus like no, it's like I consume the Kylie Jenner brand on every channel, and this is just another sort of way in which I'm interacting with this other human.
Yeah.
This is an entertainment expense. It's not a health and beauty.
Totally. And I think that's where we see all of these corporations headed towards is either take over by these personalities or adopting this idea of personifying corporations in like a literal sense. I mean, Jeffree Star's a good example. They're one of the top 10 largest makeup companies now in the US, and their whole thing is set around their brand, their YouTube channel, their Twitter, their whatever, their TikTok, and it's clearly working. And you see more and more companies adapting these personalities who are just regular people as like their image, their way to make it seem like a person. Like, oh,
yeah,
Mary Kay's no longer a giant mega corporation. It's an individual person with a brand that you follow every day on your stream or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's disgusting just how alienating and cynical it is. Which is unfortunately about all we have time for. But before you go, remember to get online and order the Twink Revolution anal bleaching kit.
Yes.
Get on it, guys. All our merchandise. We got nothing to sell. Cool. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. See you next time.